property. Okay, so in this video, then we have Kings County, right? House price 2014 to 2015. So basically, what we have is we have a set of data for property in the US, mainly in Seattle, but Kings County is an area. I think I have a link here just below to Willow, right? If I just open that up, and this is of course more current. So this is Willow. Sorry, this is Zillow, which is a real estate company in the US, and the area that we're looking at here is Seattle, and we're in the state of Washington. So this is the West Coast, of course, north of California. Property prices are less, they're a little bit cheaper in Washington state compared to California. California would be where you'd find Silicon Valley. But then Washington state, you have Microsoft based in Seattle, based in Redmond in Seattle. So if you go in a little bit, you might be able to see Redmond. Where is it? I think it's about, is it here? Yeah, Redmond. I think Microsoft are based around here. And Seattle's a little bit like Ireland, has a lot of this West Coast. You have a lot of precipitation, so slightly different climate. You've less forest fires and so on. And it's a little bit Scandinavian also in terms of you have these fjords and so on, very rugged sort of coastline, interesting coastline. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a data set in Kings County. In our data set, we have an ID for house, we've date for the house sold, with the price, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, living space in square foot, the size of the property, so the lot, right, would be the property around the house, the floors, number of floors. If you're a waterfront property, that would mean that you would have, again, going back to, property, let's just go in a little bit. If you're kind of waterfront property, you might have a higher valuation. You can kind of see that as well. The 3 millions, these properties here close to the coast command very high prices. When you pull back a little bit, you can see the properties are a bit cheaper. The further you go in, 820, you're here 945,000, 600,000, and 290, right? So the further away from the coast, although not always, the cheaper the properties seem to become, right? So the latitude and longitude could be important here, and we captured that as well. And there's a zip code, but I think we dropped that out of the analysis. We rely on the latitude and longitude ultimately. So there's a set of different data inputs here. The condition of the property, the grade, we'll have a look at that in a second. We get some of the descriptive statistics. The year it was built, when it was renovated, latitude, longitude, and so on. Okay, so that's some of the information that's contained here. And then typically when you are trying to do some type of data analysis on property, don't worry too much about each of the libraries here. I'll explain those as we go through. But the pandas is kind of for manipulating your data, and the numpy is normally for multi-array or multi-dimensional arrays. So for instance, if you have lists of data, arrays of data, or lists of numbers, and you want slightly faster computation, numpy is a very useful library in Python, and it gives you the speed. Typically, the numpys are optimized to give you the speed of more primitive languages like C. Matplotlib for graphing, and seaborn we're going to use here mainly for graphing. And then plotly, they are also going to be, these are libraries also we're going to use for graphing. Now, when we want to figure out where the data is kept for these Google Colabs. If you hit the PWB, we're able to get the content. So basically it's saying if you have data, if you want to load data in or you want to write data out, it's going to be in the content folder, right? And do we have data here? We don't have data here except sample data, but I don't have the data that I need, and I need to read in some data here. So there is data, and I can read it in. Now there's a couple of places I can read it. I can take it directly from this follow. If we go to the Kaggle website, that data set is there, right? The house sales in King County, and of course you can download it, right? So you can download that data, and then I have it in a zip file. Now unfortunately my zip, I'm not able to unzip at the moment, but I do have this data somewhere, so I'll just upload the data. Now, a straightforward way to upload the data, maybe I do have it in the downloads, right? I'll just check. I must have downloaded before today. So it's KC. I'm looking for actually KC. KC. It's there, and it's in the downloads, right? So okay, let's go in and find this KC. KC house. I'm saying I don't have it. Okay, it's in here, but I can't, as far as I know, open. Okay, so I'll just okay, I have the KC CSV file here, KC house, Kings County house data. I'll upload it. So let's just show how to upload that then. Okay, so the file is here, and I just open, and it goes up. And I only have that file there while this program is running. So basically what I did was I said upload, and then I found the destination, the folder, and then I uploaded that file, open, and that's gone up. Now there could be a little bit of latency, so it might take a minute. Now you can read the data in, and what basically we have here is how the data appears here. So for instance, if I double click on that, we can have a look at the K. It's too big to display. Okay, so we have, it's keep in mind the number of observations here is quite substantial, right? We're talking about 21,613 separate houses. So it's not a really small data set. It's quite a substantial data set. We've read it in, right? And this df head basically says, look, what's in our data set. Now I can transpose that. I think I do it down below. Yeah, I did that down below. But our data set has what? It has the ID, so that each property has a reference number, the date that the property was sold, so it's 2014, 2015. Now I might ultimately drop that out because we can't read it directly without doing some kind of feature engineering. And then with the price of the property, so you know, they're ranging from, there's 221,000, 538,000, 1.2 million, you know, 3 bedrooms. So they're not huge properties, 1 bathroom. That's, you know, maybe Dublin prices, I don't know. We might say this looks quite high compared to Dublin, 4-bedroom house, 4.5 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms. Half a bathroom is, I think, just a toilet, and then maybe toilet shower. So you might say, how do you have half a bathroom? But I think it would be where you have a toilet and shower without an actual bath, or just a toilet, I think. And then the square living, well, it's big. This is 5,400 square feet. In Ireland, the 4-bedroom semi-detached would be somewhere between 1,680 square feet to 1,960. That would be like a 4-bedroom semi-detached property. That's typically what you would have. 2,570. That'd be big by Irish standards. That's the area then around the property. right, which would be substantial. Then the number of floors, or the bungalows, or the 2-story. Waterfront 01. Waterfront, if you have a waterfront, then you're close to the sea or close to a waterway. Typically, they're normally worth more, subject, of course, to flooding. But typically, we expect waterfront properties are worth a bit more. And then are they viewed or not? The condition, there's a grade. We'll have a look at the descriptive statistics. And then in the US, it's not uncommon. Most houses have basements, right? And then the area above the basement, right? Year it was built. So earliest one there is 1963. Year renovated, a zip code, latitude, longitude, and then square foot living 15, square foot living lot. Okay, 15. Okay, so we have those bits of data. Now we can check to see is there any data missing. We run that, there's actually no data missing. So sometimes you have empty cells, but this is a nice pristine data set and all the data's there. And then typically what you want to do is you want to have a look at this just to see kind of, I want to look at the average of the, what is the average? What's the minimum? What's the maximum? Now, this is a nicer way maybe presenting the data, because given the number of features or explanatory variables, your target variable here, in other words, you would be trying to predict price. There's 21,613. That's the same for each. So there's no missing data in any of them. And then the average price is about 540,000. I'd say in Dublin, the average price might be 350, 400,000. So again, this is dollars when you take account of that. Seattle looks a bit more expensive maybe than Dublin, maybe not hugely. Dublin is pricey enough for property, we know that. Average price, I doubt that we would say average prices in Dublin are 500 or 450, 400 maybe, €1,000. So we've currency things as well. And this is 2014-15 compared to current prices. Standard deviation, the minimum, so the cheapest property was 75,000, and then the maximum is this 7.7 million, right? So there's not too many properties of that price on the Dublin market at the moment. We could check. Number of bedrooms then, typically 3.5, one might say. But so bedrooms 3.5, bathrooms 2, square living, foot living. It looks like it's 2,000 square foot, right? And then the loft is 1 point. So it's about, so if this is 2,000, this is 15,000 square feet. But that's kind of the area around the house. Okay. And then you've latitude, longitude, and other things as well. Okay, let's come down then, and we might, this might be more intuitive. We'll sort the data going from the cheapest property to the most expensive. And you can see the cheapest property was 75,000. The most expensive was 7.7 million. They're the dates, so it's 2014-15. The number of bedrooms once, that was a single bedroom property, so you can imagine it was a bit cheap, was going to be cheaper. This one had 6 bathrooms, none, right? So that's an unusual property. Small living space, single floor, wasn't the waterfront. Waterfront would mean you have a view or close to sea area or water areas. Again, if you look at the map, I have it below here. We run down a little bit. We have a kind of a map of Seattle, right? And Kings County actually goes further in, and it would include areas like Redmond and so on, goes back. And I think it covers a bit of this. And we did a longitude and latitude, and you can see these are the properties by longitude and latitude, and price-wise. And you can see the seafront ones, right, are the darker colored ones. These are the 7.5 million property, and they're very this area here. So that would look to correspond about here and here, right? If I look at that, there's, yeah, probably here and here. That's what we're talking. These two, right? This area. So that's, but also on this side as well, you've expensive, it's a little bit darker. And then here, but that's also, you know, if we come in here, there's also an area, it's either a lake or an estuary or, but it's a major waterway, right? And it looks, that's where you have expensive properties, right? The 6 million, the 7.5 million properties, also here in the coast. So towards the coast, it's always a little bit extra. If you look at Dublin as well, you see the Dalkeys and the Howths and the Malahides are the most expensive places, but then there are also places that have close to the sea, right? We normally think of North County Dublin and South County Dublin, and the Liffey divides the expensive bit from the less expensive bit, but in reality, what we typically find, the most expensive properties are found closer to the coast, and then as you pull back a bit, it tends to get cheaper. As opposed to being north-south, it's more east-west, despite what everybody tells us and what's generally communicated in anecdotage, right? So we have descriptive statistics, and getting the descriptive statistics is quite good because we get a neat summary then of maximum and minimum, and we can tell a lot, right? From the distribution, the values. We can sort by ascending and descending, right? So to reverse that, we say ascending false, descending. And so we go from the highest to the lowest, right? Or we go from the highest down the first 10. I mean, if I put 5 here, you know, the top 5 appear, right? So if you want to look at the most expensive properties in Seattle or in Kings County during that period, 7.7 million, 7, 6.855. So there's just 2 properties really in the 7 million mark, and then they're probably trophy properties. Then you're already down into the 5 million. So that's kind of interesting. But if you want more, you can go 10. I think if you go beyond 10, it's, for instance, if you write 20, I don't know if you get the full 20. Let's just check. You do. Okay. But there's limits to that as well. Okay, so you can have a look at the top 20 already. When we go down the top 20, we're into the 3 million mark. So basically, there's just a few properties that are selling at these very expensive prices. And you only have to go 20 into the 21,000 to hit the 3 million mark. So most people are obviously not buying properties of this, you know, that price. These price points are exceptional. Okay. Okay, so we can do ascending faults. We can inspect our data. A handy way to inspect is to set up a loop and say run through all our data here, right? And then just post out, right, the unique values, right? And then evaluate. And then what is the data type, right? So integer 64, these are numbers. I can pull this up a bit. And we can have a look at the, okay, the price, there was 402. Now there's unique values in a sense. 3, that was bedrooms, is it? Yeah, 3, 4, 33. So there was one property that had 33. There was one property that had 33 bedrooms. There was 9,824 properties that had 3 bedrooms. There was 6,882 properties that had 4 bedrooms. There's 2,760 properties that had 2 bedrooms. There was 1,601 that had 5 properties, and so on. And there was one place that had 33 bedrooms. So was that a house or a motel or a hotel? I'm not sure, right? But this is a handy way of getting all that data out. It's like saying, look, take the data set, we've called it DF, right? So the data that this 21,000 properties, the name of the data frame or the data set, we're calling it DF. And we're inspecting it and we want a full inspection to see what's going on. This was the bathrooms, right? There was most bathrooms had, so that's like probably two full bathrooms, and then one half would mean just the toilet. And then there was 3,852 that had one bathroom, right? And we had one property that had 7.75 bathrooms. Okay, so there's some kind of classification there between shower and toilet, shower, toilet, bath, and then toilet alone, right? And they go into half values, right? When we look at the square, there was 1,300. Okay, so it just it enumerates the number of properties with that level of square footage. Okay, so that's a nice way just to see what's in there and to get the data types, and you can investigate and go through. Okay, and then maybe the last thing we might address here is look at the distribution of the house prices. So I use that seaborn library, and then we can just do a basic distribution plot and look at the price. Now it's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4, 5 million. There was one, remember we had one property, 7.7 million. That was the highest property. But actually most properties are selling, you know, the mode here, right? The bulk of the properties is here, right? Sub 1 million, right? It's only in the tail that it's above 1 million. So that's a nice way of getting some kind of sense of the distribution of property prices. While there are properties that sell at in the 7 millions, in the 6 millions, the 5 millions, the 4 millions, they're rare enough. Over 1 million, there's a few, but it's still really part of the tail. The bulk of properties that sell are in the sub 1 million. Okay, I've probably done enough there, and I'll stop it here.